This is called the score and the accompaniment. The epigraph is from Ed Dorn, from The Garden of Birth, a poet who influenced me a lot. It's just one line, learning to beat the source of relation. Mommy, Mommy, come down here. What is it, Robin? I need you to get another graham cracker, yellow raisins for me. You've had enough now. What? Me? Enough? Mindless bumping of feet on the high chair. One reaches adulthood to spend all their time with children and the minds of children. Children are left out of liberation talk, not because they aren't there, but because they must be subtracted to start with the premise of an adult, a functioning human being if the damage hasn't been too severely done, if the mind is not completely retarded or frozen in fear, having hidden behind the skirts of children as behind earlier the skirts of the mother, able to decide what to do with a life. If you add children, immediately the argument becomes subverted and dominated. As in real life, the children can dominate over the functioning mind. In an argument, the needs and desires of children are so insistent, the future of the species, that they immediately become the excuse for the retardation of adult happiness. A woman dominated by children is an entirely different species from a functioning adult. She is mad. And yet, that's the score. And yet, had I not this child here, who is playing now quite safely and happily, would I even be home? Would I have such an excuse to be here in the house, riding on an April afternoon? Could I create the remarkable tensions out of another life? Could I see yellow for yellow, watch how language is learned by the human, see what structures strike visually and what is ignored, catch what companionship is among one's own age group and older ones and young ones, flash on the remarkable perceptions I did not teach, but which are being learned. Learner, you are teaching me so much. Okay, this is basically the last poem. It's kind of it's 3 poems in one. It's called the Delius Cycle, after the composer, Delius, who I liked a lot, or still do. I want to sing high-pitched, like a seal in the night, after Delius has gone home. Far away comes the sound, ringing in his ears as he makes his quiet preparations for bed in his cold flat, snow sifting down in the streets of Krakow. Go back, young man, says the voice of the seal. Delius, knowing he can't go back to England or any of his life before this minute, that he's in the propeller of a plane, only climbing higher, cloud over cloud, lifting itself up by catching the far rushing wind underneath its wingspan. Far below, a little boy flying a kite thinks of his kite's crossbow fleetingly as he runs as fast as he can pell-mell down a rocky hill, catches a glimpse of the plane above and thinks of its wings, that they are similar to his kite's width. He can't see Delius mashed up in the propeller. Delius, mashed up in the propeller, his body dangling, hanging bone by bone, dragged through a vapory sky. 2. A man and a woman talk, sitting in their living room. all they have made around them. In the bookcases, all their books. At a friend's, the children they created together. They talk of their life, trying to build sentences, though they barely can, letting words flow out of their mouths like molten aluminum, letting these words frame up the meaning of their life together. They try to ascertain what their life is as a couple. The words circle and bind each into separate and conflicting stories. They try to corral some essence of their marriage by endlessly telling these stories in new words, putting new value on different situations they have brought into their life. They use too many words. It becomes complicated and heated. Who they are to one another becomes devalued, obscured as a foggy road. The words are dangerous. They take on a life of their own, become javelins and swords thrown too easily. The words charge up, rushing. They hurt themselves and each other badly. In their heart of hearts, they want this to stop. It seems separate from themselves, like a war waged far away. But of course, they're causing it, making it happen. They want to be flowing around the house as they were earlier, circulating around each other and the children, happy, amusing themselves, and call that the life. But here they are, stuck like darts in a corkboard, in sentences with canons and epics of syntax. Finally, they admit the words have utterly confused and confounded them. As their rage deepens, they begin uttering threats with finality, hurling devastating sentences which pummel the other like repeated blows to the head. They lose the meaning of words, dangerous, since they are writers and words are their tools all day. They know that words are sacred. They might as well be hurling the body and blood of Christ at one another. Words sustain them. Were each to start a new life with different partners, they would eventually be using the words of affection they give to one another, like gentle offerings. The words of affection they give to one another, like gentle offerings, simply in different living rooms. Realizing this, they stop talking. They declare themselves unfit for words. They will only show love through physical movement. It's not important who made the first move. They make love. A deep, pervasive warmth flows from each of 7 chakras, heating the other. They flood each other with warmth. Afterwards, the man makes a fire and drives up the snowy hill to retrieve the children. The woman makes dinner and dessert. They are considered in their actions about the house, trying wordlessly to make it comfy and cozy for one another. They save themselves by distancing themselves from hurtful words, using none except of calm, slow feeling, soundless. The action 3. The action of emptying the trash, if done correctly. The action of sifting out what is of use. The action of determining if anything is of use. The action of taking first one very small step, letting go of taking another, seeing if that works, of falling back with a bump if it doesn't. The action of walking once one can take a few steps. The action of believing one can walk only comes after one has shown oneself step follows step. Feet go one right after another. Robbie learned to skip today. He skips everywhere now. To find the clues, he skips. He first did it 2 hops on a foot at a time. Then when I did it for him, he watched carefully and did it. A hop on one foot, then a step. That's a hop on the other. That is skipping. Miranda is learning to walk and Robbie is learning to skip. The complication of the one to the other is exactly the difference of 5 years. 4. The name of the game is love, or power, or impeccability, or integrity. No one knows what any of those terms mean. Good taste is variable. What is good taste to one and totally necessary is anathema to another. I came downstairs and opened the curtains. There was a certain amount of good taste there and respect. It was an act not of daring, but common sense. We want just enough madness to open ourselves up, but suicide is not an alternative. Depression and anxiety will always be with us. Writing is not shimmying up trees. Writing is not what you think. The internal dialogue is a frenzied rat in a maze, haphazard in its endless attempts at satisfaction. Thanks.